Thank you, Janet. Any questions from the press? I'll let you.
We got Derek Waller from ABC Channel 7. Derek Waller.
I would just love to know if you have any details about when the full schedule is going to be announced and when people can expect that.
Absolutely, in 3 to 4 weeks. Again, this is a time frame for people to get used to the new schedules, get used to the station overall, but in about 3 to 4 weeks, we'll be rolling at full strength.
Okay. We've got Alfonso Castillo over here from Newsday. We'll get your microphone, Alfonso.
Hello, congratulations. A couple things. Jano, I know you've said this project for a while was kind of the model of how not to build a project. We're celebrating today, but this project was more than 10 years late, more than $5 billion over budget. What are the lessons learned by everything that went wrong? And Governor, if you had to do this over again, would you?
Yes, because we're talking about a legacy project. And I'm glad that 100 years ago that the people who came before us had the courage and the audacity to build tunnels, to build magnificent stations that are part of our identity. So this, governing the state of New York and leaning hard into complex but necessary infrastructure, is not always for the faint of heart. But I guarantee that 100 years from now, when they look back, and we've had an opportunity to grow our communities and bring more people here and give them a quality of life that is second to none because we invested in this infrastructure, even if it took longer than wanting to. It will all say it was worthwhile. They will agree that this was a project worth undertaking. Lessons learned, bring in Jano Lieber a lot earlier.
Listen, Alfonso, you've heard me say this because I said it starting in 2018 when we tore the project apart and put it back together again. Core lessons. Do not take mega projects and and balkanize them into 50 separate contracts and projects, which will run into each other and cause sequential cascading delays. Use the principle of design build. You don't have to have only one contractor, but God knows you don't have to have 50. You have to have clear integration of a project using design build techniques and create accountability. The second is you have to have a totally detailed schedule. We took a schedule that was 8,000 work items and turned it into a schedule of 45 to 50,000 work items. You need to know every step to get that's got to get done, and you have to have accountability for every step in the chain of construction and development. We did that, and that's the schedule that guided us to this point. And the third is when you're operating in a railroad environment where folks, you must have, in order to do work, you have to have access to track and be able to get work done, which was the struggle with our friends at Amtrak. And we learned from it, and now on the Penn Access project, where we're going to give 4 people in the Bronx mass transit for the first time in the East Bronx, Amtrak has agreed to promise outages so you can actually get the work done on time and to provide the flaggers and other personnel necessary for safe work to happen. So contract commitments, accountability, detailed schedule, and a modern design build approach to mega project construction.
Yes, 2 quick questions over here, Governor and Mr. Lieber. First question is about the time savings. Bear with me, but there are some commuters who say by the time you get up the longest escalators in the city, because this is so far underground, and walk to where you're going on the east side, it's more like 2 or 3 minute savings from walking from Penn Station. So what is your response to that critique?
First of all, we are a cold climate state. People may want to walk from Penn Station during a snowstorm or heavy rain or winds, or they can come up through this beautiful escalator. I would use that time as meditation time. Just use that 2-minute experience. Let your mind wander. Let your gratitude overflow with the beauty of the experience of coming up here. So we can change the minds, the psychology of New Yorkers by giving them something magnificent that they deserve. And I guarantee, based on all the messages we're getting, there's a lot of people that are so grateful, cannot wait for this to be fully activated because this is a life-changing experience for our commuters.
All right, the other question has to do with the cost. Mr. Lieber, what do you say to the Riders Alliance and other folks who say, wow, $11 billion to help a comparably small portion of your daily commuters in the tri-state area? When will that kind of commitment be delivered for people who rely on subways and buses?
Hey, listen, I'm proud. The $55 billion MTA capital project is hugely focused on the subway system. So let's make sure that we don't lose sight of the fact that we're doing a ton of stuff in the subway system. Most of all, state of good repair. We got a 100-year-old system that wants to fall apart, and you have to keep investing in it. And that's what a lot of that $55 billion is going towards. But there are, huge projects. We're re-signaling the entire system. We are finally making the entire subway system accessible by putting in elevators at hundreds of stations around the city. It's never been done before. We're investing in new cars. And we're also going to do the next mega project, which is to get underway the long overdue and long promised to people of East Harlem, the 2nd Avenue subway up to 125th Street. So investments in the subway absolutely are happening. Our friends at Riders Alliance know that, and we're going to continue to work with them to make sure that everybody understands that.
And just
Oh, you're keeping it? Oh, sorry. Hello, congratulations.
thank you.
I have 2 quick questions. The first was I was hoping you could speak a little bit to pandemic ridership and how you see this project working with that, particularly with the reverse commute, what you've been seeing there.
You can address it, but we're not at pre-pandemic levels yet. We have had increases. We're still at about 60-some percent, depending on 65 to 70%. So it is starting to go up. But it's also about making sure that the experience is safer for people, that they feel that they're going to be protected. And we'll be making some announcements very shortly. Number one, about my commitment in the state budget to the MTA overall. Number two, our continuation and the success of what I launched with Mayor Adams back just a few months ago, and how we're starting to turn around that sense of anxiety that people have had based on polling and data related to crime. So part of it is making sure that people feel that they're having an extremely positive experience before they decide to come back to our subways. So that's part of our strategy. Knock down the opposition that people may have had. And the other part is adapting to the remote work phenomenon. This will create opportunities for people to go out and work on Long Island if they have an opportunity there, or in different parts of Queens that were not accessible. So this is a catalyst for people to have more flexibility in where they take their jobs. And that's why this is important as we reimagine the post-pandemic world. What does it look like? We're never going to go back to 100% of people working in person in Manhattan. It's just not happening. But how do we adapt? And the larger answer is that's part of our New New York initiative. What we're thinking about Midtown East, as places not just for businesses and high rises, but for a whole living experience, for people to have homes that were informally office buildings and create incentives in our budget to create. So we're not limited by anything other than our imagination on how we focus on what you're talking about, which is right sizing and making sure that we adapt to the changing demographics of who's actually taking the subway, but also doing everything we can to make sure it's a very positive, safe, uplifting experience.
So, Danielle, I think as folks from the press know, East Midtown rezoning took place and it's become an area of emphasis for growth. And lo and behold, J.P. Morgan Chase built a new headquarters, and there are a bunch of other buildings underway already. This project supports that and helps to those businesses. This was already the most high value-added job center in the United States, and now it's much more accessible. They can bring people from all over the region. They can bring them back to work, as the governor said. But everything that improves the convenience and appeal of getting to New York helps us with the post-COVID rebound. And I just remind you, that doesn't just help people who work in offices. That helps everybody who works in restaurants and hotels and all the businesses, middle class, working class people who depend on the Midtown office economy reviving for their jobs. So this is a job creator for people of all different positions on the economic ladder, and that's one of the things that's thrilling about it. I'm not going to miss the chance to mention something that has been overlooked. Like, if you look down, there's a little bump in the concourse. That's where everything north of there, J.P. Morgan Chase a couple of years ago said, we're going to double the size of our headquarters, but our plan means we got to drop 1 million square feet of extra structure through your concourse. This team figured out how to do that without losing the schedule. Dropping a whole new office building, bam, right through the concourse, redoing it, redoing the mechanicals, redoing the electrical, redoing the plumbing, didn't miss the schedule. Incredible story that hasn't been covered so far, but I got to mention it.
Good morning and congratulations. I wanted to follow up on the costs issue. You guys mentioned some of the new principles in constructing big mega projects like this and in reforming how it's done and preventing it from being delayed and over budget and all that. Are these principles being followed in current mega projects or regular projects?
We're going to be short of time. Can I just say to you, L train, third track, Penn Concourse, Long Island Railroad. Mega projects, on time, under budget. Every principle that I ranted about 2 minutes ago, and many, many more, has been implemented as part of how the MTA does mega projects. This project, along with those 3 or 4 I mentioned, shows the MTA is a leader in how to get mega projects done in a complex urban environment. Next question.
Can you say that the Interborough Express won't take 25 years and go 300% over budget?
Yes, I will confirm that 25 years from now, we'll say we've been riding this for a long time. That's one of my top priorities. That's a new initiative from our administration to, again, realize that we'll never go back to the pre-pandemic world. We have people in Queens and Brooklyn who don't want to have to come into Manhattan to go to their job in the neighboring borough. It doesn't make sense. So is it a major project? Yes. Is it going to cost money? Yes. Am I afraid to lean into it and make commitments? No. This is what we do. This is how we change the trajectory of the state. We identify projects that improve people's lives, make it easier to be a New Yorker. That's what this is all about. And those of you who don't know me, I roll up my sleeves, I sit at the table, I say, show me the plans. Take me to the work site. How far are we going? Why not more here? Are we working long enough hours? I love getting projects done. And maybe I come into some a little bit later, but now that one's going to be my baby, and I'm going to get it done. Thanks, everybody.